Yeah, so again, you're not allowed the calculator, but whenever you see two equations with two different variables, you just write them this way under each other, and that's a system of equations. So how do I solve a system of equations without a calculator? I just need to make the coefficients of either the x or the y similar to each other, whatever is easier for you to calculate. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean, like, if you multiply this whole thing by 2, you'll have a new equation that has 2x plus 2y equals to 1000. In that case, if I wanted to eliminate the y's and find the value of x, I'll subtract because both have the same signs. If they had different signs, I would have added. So 3x minus 2x, it will give me only 1x. 2y minus 2y, they'll cross each other. And then 3000 minus 1000 is mainly 2000, and I got the value of x. Once I have the value of x, I just need to substitute into any of the equations to get the value of y. So it's now 2000 plus y equals 500. That would then indicate by moving 2000 to the other side that y is equals to negative 1500. So I have now x and y. I just need to calculate 5 times x, which is the 2000, minus y, which is negative 1500. You see, whenever I substitute, I open a bracket and I substitute inside of that bracket. 5 times 2000, that's 10,000. 10,000 minus negative 1000 is just plus 1500, which gives me a total of 11,500. So then the answer is C. Any questions there? Why are you speechless, Jed? It's a nice spaceship, man. Yalla, let's check number 2 though. Which of the following? Oh, of course, no worries. But don't forget that I always upload the notes by the end of each class. So don't worry, anyone. Most welcome. It says here, which of the following is equivalent to this? But the thing is, once you look at the answers, okay, thanks. So once you look at the answers, they're a bit different. Like usually, whenever we see, like that's how I think about the question. Okay, whenever I see brackets and things like that, I think right away of the distribution process, the FOIL one, and whenever I see a bracket like that with the power of 2, I'll expand it and so on. But I know that if I do that, I'll expand the entire expression into a polynomial, which means there'll be only terms added and subtracted to each other. But when I look at the answers, that's not the case. Like most of the answers are not written into this form. They're written in a form of factors. They're a form of 2 brackets multiplied by each other. So what I'm trying to do, or that gives me the idea that I'll have to try and factor this function right here. So how do I do that? I think of all the factorization methods that I know. First of all, this bracket here with the power of 2, I'll just leave it as it is for the time being, as if there's nothing I can do to factorize this simpler. It's already a factor. Same thing, once I look at the 2x plus 3 and the x minus 1, these two are already factors. I'll leave them as they are for the time being. But once I look at this is not the factored form. Apparently, this could be split into 2 brackets to what we call a difference of 2 squares. Why is that? This one has a square root, and this one as well has a square root, and there's a minus sign in between. So this is definitely a difference of 2 squares. How do I do that? I'll get the square root of the 4x squared, which will become 2x, and I'll write it in both brackets. I'll get the square root of the 9, which will become 3, and I'll write it in both brackets. And in the difference of 2 squares, we just have to add 1 and subtract 1. And it doesn't matter if you subtract first or add first. It doesn't matter at all. So basically now I do have factors. Now I have brackets that cannot be factorized any further. Then when I kept looking at this, I noticed that the 2x plus 3, the bracket of 2x plus 3, is repeated in almost each term. So the first term here, there's 2x plus 3, and then here there's also 2x plus 3, and then there's also 2x plus 3. So that's actually, it is repeated in all three terms. What do I do when I find something like that? This is now called a common factor. The 2x plus 3 itself as a bracket is common between all three factors that I've underlined there. So how do I do a common factor? I'll write it outside here, and then I'll open a bigger bracket. And in that bracket, I'll put all the remaining terms. So if I took from this one, this is 2x plus 3 to the power of 2. If I took one 2x plus 3 out, there'll be remaining one 2x plus 3 in. Let me change the color. What do I mean by that? 2x plus 3 all to the power of 2 is the same as writing the bracket itself of 2x plus 3 twice. So imagine you've taken one of them as a common factor outside. Then remaining, you'll have another 2x plus 3 here. Plus, since you took this 2x plus 3 out, the remaining there will be the x minus 1. Minus, since I took the 2x plus 3, the remaining will be the 2, and then the bracket 2x minus 3. Okay, then what do I do next? There's still not just two brackets multiplied. So how do I do anything further? When you look at the bigger bracket here, these are all terms that could be easily added or subtracted. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll leave the 2x plus 3 here. I'll open up a bigger bracket. Now 2x plus x, and then this negative 2 is distributed, so that's negative actually 4x now plus 6. 2x plus x is 3x, 3x minus 4x is negative x. 3 minus 1 plus 6 is 2 plus 6, which is 8. Now when I look at these are just two brackets multiplied, which is exactly like what they're looking for here, so the answer here is C. Please start asking.
I got everything just until the last one. Will you just substitute the negative 2 into the thing?
I did not, okay, let me be clear. It's not a substitution, you mean multiply, correct? Is that what you meant? Yeah. So yes, the negative 2 was multiplied by this bracket, the 2x plus 3. When I distributed the negative 2 times 2x became negative 4x. And then negative 2 times negative 6 became positive 6. Now, let me show you this step back again, and I'll make things a bit better, because I've tried to make things faster شوية and tried to skip a step. So you just have to distribute, as you just said. So I leave this bracket of 2x plus 3 and plus the x minus 1. And just for the negative 2, I'll have to distribute, so it will become negative 4x, and then negative 2 times negative 3, which is positive 6. Now, when you look at this, there are common like terms, I mean. So I do have the 2x plus 3 in the first bracket out there as it is, but the other big bracket now has this 2x plus this x and minus this 4x. So 2x plus x is just 3x. 3x minus 4x became negative x. These are the like terms here. There is also another like term, which is our other like terms, which are the ones without the x's, which are the 3 and the minus 1 and the positive 6. 3 minus 1 will become 2, and then 2 plus 6 is 8, so I added 8 here. And that's how I got these two brackets. Does that make a better sense, Shoya Ali? Did I actually answer the question?
I got it.
Perfect. Yeah, you're saying if the calculator was allowed here, is there another way we could do it? Still, yes, of course, there is another way, where you can just substitute x with any term, any number, whatever you prefer, in the original question itself, and then check what's the answer. If the answer, let's say, for example, came out as 20, you'll substitute each x in each answer with the same x you used in the first question, and check which answer will get you a value of 20 as well. Does that make sense, Shoya Yahya? Most welcome. Jad, you're saying this is faster? You did actually multiply them and got a polynomial first, and then you started to factorize. Is that what you did? Perfect. Now, that's the reason why I tried to focus at the beginning when I told you I looked at the answers first before I started factorizing, or before I started actually solving. When I realized that the answers are written in the form of brackets, I realized that I'm unable, or if I went through the other way of distribution, this would take me too much time. So I started to look of ways of factorization. Muhammad, you're saying, Ya Habibi, I did it by finding the B only. What do you mean find? Oh, okay. Oh, no. What do you mean finding the B only? Finding the coefficients of X, you mean? Ah, okay. Interesting. Very interesting. It's okay. It would work as well, ya Muhammad. I'm just worried بقى if, let's say, two of them of the B are the same, then you'll still have to get the constants. And Muhammad, that means that you had to try each answer. Is that right or no? Yes, yeah, Jed, definitely. First of all, Jed, the time thinking skills or the time management things, first of all, you just have to follow some of the skills or the methods that I've been trying to explain whenever we're trying to solve any of the questions. And what I mean by that is how you identify the keywords or the key points in the question. So you would get some sort of a direction, not just a goal, or not always if an end goal. Sometimes you just have a direction or which path you should take without actually knowing what's the end goal. And just going through the right path would suddenly, and following the correct mathematical operations and so on, you'd find yourself suddenly taken to the final correct goal, which is the final correct answer. That's one thing that affects time management. Another thing is to keep in mind that if you're taking too much long in a question and you're not really clear of what you're doing, you're probably doing something wrong. Most of the questions are not supposed to take that much time. And if it does, then this means you should have known exactly the steps or the procedures of it. Just like this question, for example. It's not a hard question. It does not require thinking. It's just following of the basic mathematical operations, taking the common factors and so on. So it's a bit long, yes, but I did have a path since the very beginning. I'm trying to factorize and I know how to factorize, so I followed those steps. One last thing is you need always to try and link between either the given and the wanted, if there is a given and wanted. Try to link between them. Sometimes, and most of the times, there is a very quick shortcut. There is, like, for example, the given would be half the wanted somehow, or the given would be part of the wanted, so you can just substitute here and try to find an answer. Other times, you just have to link between the given and the wanted. By that, I mean you have to link between the way the question is written and the wanted. In that case, in this question, is how the answers are written. So it's extremely important that you take a quick look at the answers whenever you're trying to solve any of the questions. You need to understand what form of an answer you're looking for. So instead of getting to a weird answer and then checking which of your answers is similar to the ones that you're given in the question, so it takes so much time changing what you got to the form that they need. I hope that these methods kind of make sense. Other than that, when you're practicing, always put some sort of a timer. But for the time being, since if you're not practicing with me here in class, put a timer, and even if you did not finish within that time, that's okay. At the end of the day, keep in mind that your target here is to practice ways of thinking. You'll have to go through the process anyway within the test. So I just find it hard to focus. I get distracted a lot. It's fine. Again, the reason why I think you lose focus, or you're not 100% focused, is that you're not sure of how the path you're taking, or whether the path you're taking is correct or not. One more thing again is by practice, I think by now you've seen this. While you've been solving so many questions, you can see that some questions, like, we don't really care about the entire or every single word in the question. There are a few words that matter and the rest are just a distraction. So don't get lost on those. So that's why I told you the first most important skill is to identify what are the keywords of a question. Don't get lost in words that doesn't really matter. For example, let's say a question like that, there are a lot written here, but what I see as a teacher and with experience and by practice and so on is just this part, h in terms of n. So once they told me I need h in terms of whatsoever, I know now that I need h completely alone on one side. That's what I care of and nothing else. So then I checked what else is given. So I did not lose that much time looking at this form at the beginning and trying to figure out what are the important things there. No, I just wanted to know what do they want first, and then I checked all quickly, took a look at the answers, and I realized in the answers all have ends in them. So I have an idea of what to do. Then I'm not going to be distracted. I'm 100% focused. I know what I'm going to do. I just go for it right away. Does that make sense, Shoya Jen? No? Right. Let's get back عشان I've wasted so much time. Again, what we're trying to do is we're going to explain each question of the homework. And as you can see كده دلوقتي أنا شرحت الكويستشن كله. Once the question ended, you can ask as many questions as you want and I encourage you to ask. But I want you to follow or to experiment معايا فكرة إن إحنا we're going through a full test with different ideas every time and so on. So we're done with 1 and 2. Let's work with number 3. You're asked which of the following intervals could be part of the solution of the inequality this thing. So whenever I see an inequality, I think of just similar to the equation. I can solve it normally. Like how? So I'll write it here on the side. And I'll write the 3 there, everything. Like, okay, so there's an important thing to know. Whenever I do have an absolute sign like this, I should actually solve this into 2 parts. Or I should split this into 2 parts. No, actually, no. Let me stop here. First, let me show you an example of an equation with an absolute, and then I'll apply it the same idea over here. So if I have this as an equation, x plus 2 in an absolute equals to 4, the way you're supposed to solve this is again to split it into 2. What do I mean by that? You'll write x plus 2, but now without the absolute signs, and you'll keep it equals to 4 as it is, as if you just removed the absolute sign, and you'll solve this one normally. Move the 2 to the other side, so I'll have 4 minus 2, yani x equals to 2. Now the other part is that you'll take still x plus 2 as it is, but without the absolute. But now instead of positive 4, you'll write it as negative 4. And you'll move the 2 again to the other side and you'll solve, so you'll have negative 6. So now you have 2 values for the x. That's how what we call an absolute equation is solved. Whenever I see an absolute sign and whenever I see an equation or an inequality with an absolute sign, I have to solve this into 2 parts. I do not ever change what's inside the absolute. What I actually change is what's outside here. I'll take it once as it is positive and another time as a negative, and I'll solve both. Now, how do I apply the same method over here on this question? So I'll again write the 3x minus 3 as it is. As I said, we do not change what's inside the absolute. And I'll write the 3 as it is. But the other time should be 3x minus 3 as it is. And instead of 3, it should be negative 3. Now, the only change or the only difference between an inequality or equation is that I don't just change the sign of the 3, I also switch this sign. So instead of it looking this way, I needed to look the other way as well. and I'll solve both. So moving -3 to the other side, I'll have 3x less than 6. Then x less than 6 divided by 3, which is 2. Here's the first answer. The second one, -3 goes to the other side, +3. So I'll have 3x bigger than 0, which means x is bigger than 0. Right. X bigger than 0 and x is less than 2. So what does that mean if x is bigger than 0 and less than 2? It means that x should be between 0 and 2. X is supposed to be less than 2 and bigger than 0. So it should be somewhere between 0 and 2. Look at the intervals here. Look at these numbers here. Check which of those apply to this interval. It must be between 0 and 2. When you look at the first interval, this is half, but this one is 5/2. 5/2 يعني 2.5. So that's something that's bigger than 2. So this one cannot be the correct answer. If you check this one, 1/4 يعني 0.25. This is bigger than 0. With 3/2 يعني 1.5, which is still less than 2. So both of those numbers are inside this what's it called, interval. So yes, B must be 100% true. Just to show you that the rest are still not true, if you check C, this is -½ and there are no negatives here. X is supposed to be between 0 and 2, so C must or cannot be the correct answer. When you check D, it is between 0 and ½ but there's this bracket here. If you remember, I told you this bracket means that this number is included. But actually here, the 0 is not included. X is supposed to be between 0 and 2. يعني أكبر من 0 وأصغر من 2. It cannot be 0 and it cannot be 2. So that's why D as well is incorrect. Now please ask as many questions as you can. البراكت المقلوبة يعني numbers are not included. It's okay if the numbers are not included. The others that are included are still within the interval. فاهم? What else? Ask me about the procedures themselves. في أحد مش فاهم إزاي حليت الأبسولوت نفسها؟ إزاي بحل الأبسولوت؟ الموضوع ده مهم جدا.
Mr. I get it. I just have one question.
Please.
The crocodile sign, you know, when you switch it when you're doing that, correct?
Yes.
Is there anything else that gets switched, or it's just the crocodile sign?
Along with the sign of whatever is after the inequality. يعني بدل ما كانت positive.
No. What I'm trying to say is like, if it's, for example, plus or minus.
No. No, it's just the inequality. The inequality signs يا علي هما bigger than, smaller than, bigger than or equal, and smaller than or equal. These are the only signs that are called the inequality signs. So if you're trying to solve an inequality with absolute, so you do what? Actually, there's a faster way. I can show you another faster way. You just put the 3x minus 3 as it is, and you leave this sign as it is with the 3, and on the other side, just put this sign with the -3. Now, when you're trying to solve it, -3 should go to the other side, but here you do have two sides. So it's like you're going to add 3 here and add 3 here as well. So this will be 0 and then 3x and then 6. Now, how do I remove this 3? By dividing. So I'll divide everything. So I'll have 0 less than x less than 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So you'll have the answer right away, which is the same as this one.
I got that method.
Okay, so both work.
Yeah. Just move -3 onto both sides.
Exactly. Any questions here, guys? We're all good?
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Oh, Mr. Maxi, I know it's a question, but I forgot how to convert fractions to decimals.
بس في حاجة أنا ما حاولت I didn't work على إن أساس إن دول بجد fractions و decimals. ما فكرتش فيهم كده. أنا actually sorry I didn't follow steps here. أنا فكرت فيهم عشان اسهل في الكيس دي انك تحولهم، يعني 5 divided by 2 نص ال 5، 3 divided by 2 هي نص ال 3، 1 over 4 ده الربع يعني 0.25. خلي بالك هو في الامتحان دايما هتلاقيه بيجيب لك الفراكشنز اللي هي الديسيمال دي بتكون حاجات منطقيه يعني، او هو مش عايز يتست انت كالكوليتر كويس ولا لا، هو عايز يتست انت بتفهم ان 5 over 2 هي معناها نص ال 5 ولا لا، هو ده اللي هو عايز يفهمه اكتر. فاهم؟ بس جنرالي انا لو عندي اي فراكشن let's say مثلا عندي 6 over 4 وعايز احوله لديسيمال، عايز اخليه اللي تحت يبقى 100، يعني التارجت بتاعك ان ده يكون 100. ازاي ده يكون 100 او 10 مثلا، حتى بلاش 100 بس هو هتعمل تايمز 5 فوق وتحت، هيبقى عندك هنا 15 over 10. لو 15 over 10 دي تخليك على طول تحرك الديسيمال بوينت عشان هي زيرو واحده، فبتحرك الديسيمال بوينت من هنا 1 بوينت بس فتبقى 1.5. فاهم الحركه دي؟
ايوه بس شكرا.
العفو يا حبيبي. يلا نجرب نمبر 4. again التايب اوف questions keep notice او يعني ركزوا قوي في حته where do I start, what do I care about and so on. So when I read this it says if n is equals to whatsoever, this is not something that I'll focus on at all دلوقتي, it doesn't matter. Which of the following could be h in terms of n? Okay, that's what matters. يعني this is the wanted now, and then I عايز h in terms of whatsoever. I told you before, whenever they say h in terms of something, it's as if they want h equals everything else. They want h completely alone. عايز اشيل كل حاجه من جنب ال h اوديها الناحيه الثانيه. So that's what I'll do. ادي ال equation. I want to solve for h، يعني عايز ال h دي تبقى لوحدها. ازاي اعمل كده؟ اول حاجه اشيلها دايما is اللي بالdivision, as if because this it's as if it's locking ال 2 وال h وال 40 وكل اللي فوق ده كانه مقفول عليه بال 100. So first the 100 needs to go to the other side by multiplication. It becomes 100n equals 2h power 2 plus 40. Then now I need to move الحاجات اللي حوالين ال h to the other side. We always start من بعيد لقريب. So I'll start with the 40. So I'll have 100n minus 40 equals to 2h to the power of 2. Now I'll move the 2 to the other side by division. When I divide, it's like it will become 100n minus 40 divided by 2 equals h to the power of 2. Now I'll divide each part by 2. 100 divided by 2 is 50n. 40 divided by 2 is 20. All of this is equals to h power 2. Now I need to remove the power 2. How do I remove it? By square root. So I'll have now square root 50n minus 20. That is what h is equal. So that means that C is the correct answer. Please ask. انتوا جامدين قوي يا جماعه. طيب number 5. If root x minus 2 is equals to 100, دي radical equations اللي we just did. What's the value of 3x? أنا أول ما ألاقي equation وألاقي one variable بس يعني x بس أو y بس، على طول هحاول أطلع ال variable ده بكام. Even if this is not what's wanted. أول ما ألاقي equation وفيها x أو y أو a أو one variable بس أحلها. So how do I do that? I'll remove the root by putting power of 2 to the other side. الباور 2 هي اللي عكس الروت، يبقى عندي 10 باور 2. 10 باور 2 يعني 100. I'll move the negative 2 to the other side فتبقى x equals to 102. كده انا جبت الاكس. ارجع بقى اشوف what do they want. They want 3x. Okay, so 3 multiplied by 102 which will be ازاي احسبها بسرعه؟ 102 الحاجات اللي فيها اكبر من 100 وتايمز ازاي احسبهم؟ انا شخصيا بفكر فيهم كده، بقسمها، فكر فيها بدل ما هي 102 وبتاع خليها كانها 102 separately. 3 times 100 تبقى 300 و3 times 2 تبقى 6. 306. That's the answer. 306. So the answer is D. طبعا this is a very easy example. That example or the same theory here works on any multiplication. Just try to split it to smaller numbers تكون انت بتعرف تحسبهم easier. Any questions in this one?
Yes, sir, I have one question. I got the question, but there's no 10 squared on the question when they wrote it. So how do you know you're supposed to put square root 10?
How did I remove? Okay, Ali, please focus. The target here is to leave X completely alone, صح?
Yeah, I'm focused, Mr. No,
I know, يا حبيبي. So what's the first step that I did?
First step, Mr. You remove the square root.
How do I remove the square root?
You just power of 2.
To which side? To the other side.
Yeah.
So that's why the power of 2 is added. How did I know? It's because there was a root here. If there was no root here, I wouldn't have squared it.
Okay, so I got it.
Makes sense, صح? I know you understand. I just wanted you to keep focused for what's the goal here. Our target was to find X. So that's why I did every single step that's shown here by removing everything around the X to the other side. So there's always a reason for every single step. There's always a reason why I did the power of 2. It's because there was a square root here. That's why I'm asking. Anyway.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Everyone else, we're clear? Linear equations, the ones you are good and you're supposed to be really good at by now. What's the slope of the line shown in the graph up below? Whenever I see slope or whenever I see a line, I think of slope. And whenever I see a graph or points or a table, there's only one way to calculate the slope, which is mainly rise over run, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, notice please that there are two ways to do this. ممكن أعد how many rise و how many run وأجيب السلوب على طول. ممكن أطلع points من الجراف وأحسب y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, whatever I prefer. You can either pick, let's say, this point here, which is -2 on the x, 0 on the y, along with مثلا this point here, which is -1 on the x and 3 on the y, and start calculating y2 minus y1, which is 3 minus 0, over x2, which is -1, minus x1, which is -2. Calculate that. That would get you 3 over -1 plus 2, which is 1. So the answer will be 3. And that's your answer right away accurately. Or you can just count the number of rise and run from this point to this point. Like how much rise, how much did I go up from this point to this point? I went 1 box, 2 boxes, 3 boxes, which means that the rise is 3. Now the run from this point here now to the other point here, I'll move only 1 point. So the run is now 1. So rise over run will become 3 over 1, which is 3. So it still got me the same slope. The only thing here that I'd like to please note is that if you're going to calculate rise over run, or sorry, to count rise over run بالعد كده, how much rise or how much run, do not forget to check whether this slope is positive or negative. Because we forget sometimes that the line is مثلا a negative slope and it's going this way, and we counted rise and run. We forget that we did not actually go up. We went down, but we didn't notice. So please, if you're going to count rise or run, make sure you know whether this is positive or negative from the very beginning by doing the Nike sign. If the line is going from left to right, just like the Nike sign, from left to right, going up, this is a positive slope. But if I have a line like this one and I drew the Nike sign, I'll find it intersecting with the line. So this is then would be a negative slope. Any questions about this one?
Mister, so when you're counting, if it's a negative slope, instead of just going up 3 times, you go down.
No. You count still, but then the final answer will be positive or negative according to your checking by the Nike sign. So you still count عادي how many are the eyes, how many are the run, and then you check, you do the Nike sign. Apparently this is positive, so the slope will remain positive 3. But if I counted, like, for example, if I have a question like this one, and I have this and that, and I started to count the rise over run, and I found that the rise here is 2, and the run here is 3, I'm not going to say that the rise is 2 over 3. I have to check first whether it's positive or negative. So apparently it's negative, so the slope will become negative 2 over 3. Does that make sense, Yani?
Yes, mister.
Sure?
Yes.
Everyone? We're good? I love linear equations. What is the equation of the line D1 passing through the point A, which is 3 and 4, and parallel to the line D with the equation whatsoever? This is what we have prepared for him. Whenever I see the word parallel, I think right away of equal slopes. If you did not watch yet the class when we were explaining linear and parallel and perpendicular lines and so on, I strongly suggest that you do. It's extremely important. So parallel means equal slopes. Equal slopes to which equation? To this equation, which means that I know now that the slope must be equals to -2. So I have the slope, and you asked which of those lines has a slope of -2 and passes through the point 3 and 4. When you look at the choices, there are 2 equations that has a slope of -2. So then B and D are not correct. How do I check which of those is the correct one? By substituting. Substitute x here with 3, like this one, and check if the answer will become 4 or not. So -2 times 3 plus 3. That's -6 plus 3, and that would give me -3. Is this -3 just like this one? No, it's not. So then A is incorrect, which means right away that C must be the correct answer without even trying. If you just want to check, هتبقى -2 substitute x ب3 plus 10, which is -6 plus 10, which means it is 4, just like how this one is 4. So C definitely is the correct answer. Any questions here? A circle has a circumference of 400 units. Once I read circumference, بفكر, what do I know about the circumference? I know that it is 2 pi r. So if the 2 pi r is equals to 400 زي ما هو بيقول لي circumference the 400, what is the approximate diameter of the circle? هو ايه الdiameter؟ الdiameter is mainly 2r, 2 radius. طيب يعني انا عايز اعرف ال 2r بكام؟ How do I find the 2r بكام؟ I think I have to move the pi to the other side by division. So ال 2r must be equals to 400 divided pi. Now ال pi is never supposed to be calculated. بس في question when you look at the answers, الانسر مش مكتوبة بالمنظر ده. مكتوبة as a number, which means that I have to calculate المفروض تطلع بكام. بس anyway, ازاي احسبها بكام؟ ال pi is actually equals to 3.14. يعني قول 3. assume approximately it is 3 because they say what's the approximate diameter. So approximately I'll assume ان الباي ب 3. 400 divided by 3 المفروض تكون بكام؟ المفروض تكون ب 100 ب over 100 بحاجة بسيطة 100 and something, which means that 127 could be the correct answer. بس it's impossible انها تطلع ب 200 لان 3 times 200 ب 600 something يعني اكبر من 400. It's impossible ان تطلع باي حاجه من الchoices التانية. So choice A must be the correct answer. Please ask. This is an important one for me. فين الناس؟ وانا لازم انده على اسامي وكده. محمد ومحمد ونورين وهيثم ويحيى وزاد. Are you all ايه good ولا ايه؟ زاد انا عارف انت بترد عليا وعلي سأل.
طب مستر
يس.
انا عملتها 400 divided by pi طلعت 127 فهو مش المفروض لو 2r equals 127 المفروض تكون الانسر حاجه ثانيه.
المفروض يكون الانسر ايه؟
يعني هو دلوقتي عملت 400.
هو انت عايز ايه بالظبط يا يحيى؟ انت عايز الار ولا عايز ال2 ار؟
لا ال 2r
اللي هو الدايمتر. طب ما انت جبت ال2 ار ب 127 خلاص.
تمام
صح؟
تمام.
ايه الدنيا؟ بقية الناس ايه الكلام؟ في ايه طيب يا محمد قول لي؟ طيب خليني اقول لك على حاجه. احنا نعرف ايه عن الاجان السيركمفرنس؟ لا quickly. نعرف ايه السيركمفرنس؟ السيركمفرنس is 2 باي ار. ال 2 ار هم كده كده يعتبروا diameter فتعتبر دي باي كأن ده الرول دلوقتي بتاع الدايمتر بتاع السيركمفرنس. هو قال لي ان السيركمفرنس ب 400 باي يعني الدي باي سوري ب 400 units ب 400. هو عايز يعرف الدايمتر بكام approximately. فهودي الباي to the other side. Now d will be equals to 400 divided pi. d then is equals to 400 divided المفروض تبقى 3.14 بس انا هapproximate فهعتبر ان ال 14 مش موجوده. 400 divided by 3 المفروض تبقى بكام؟ المفروض تبقى ب 100 وشويه. انا مش عارف كام بس انا عارف انها ب 100 وحاجه مش ب 200 اكيد. ما وصلتش ل 200 اكيد. So من ال choices when you look at them the only choice اللي فيه 100 and something هو A. And that's how I selected it right away وخلاص. طيب تعالوا نشوف number 9. Again, what is the value of this? ومديني equation. Whenever I see an equation with one variable, I'll try to solve it right away. How do I solve this one? عندي whenever لما بيكون الفاريبل في الباور يعني بيكون الاكس او الواي او ال او whatever الفاريبل في الباور لازم اخلي البيز قد البيز. This is what we call a base. How do I make them equal? بدل ال 27 هشوف 3 زي دي 3 باور حاجه تديني 27. 3 باور something يديني 27. So I leave الحته الاولانيه زي ما هي 3 باور 2x minus 1. بس بدل 27 هحط 3 باور حاجه. Now 3 power 1 is just 3 طبعا. 3 power 2 is 9. طب ايه ال 3 power 3؟ 3 power 3 يعني 3 times 3 times 3 يعني 9 times 3 يعني 27. So فعلا بدل ال 27 المفروض احط 3 power 3. Now since both bases are equal to each other, I should just make the powers equals to each other as well. So هقول 2x minus 1 is now equals to 3. Find the value of x. Move negative 1 to the other side. So 2x will be equals to 4, which means x is equals to 4 divided by 2. X is now equals to 2. I got the value of x. Type. What do they want? They want half x plus 3. So it's actually half times the 2 plus 3. Half ال 2 قد ايه؟ نص ال 2 كام؟ It's 1. 1 plus 3 is how much? Is 4. So the answer here is just D, which is 4. Any questions there? Nothing. You're given this equation here. 3 minus 8x plus 5x power 2 is equals to 0. Which of the following is a solution for x? The easiest and fastest way to solve this one is to substitute. Try them out. Yeah, you love this. This is your chance.
نعمل substitute كله في الاخر تقريبا هتطلع 1 تقريبا.
So if you substituted, let's say the negative 1. Now, I'd like to say no, it's impossible to become the negative 1 because negative and negative will make this positive. So 3 plus 8 and the 5 times negative 1 will become negative 5. It's impossible for this to become a 0. Actually, sorry, it's plus because this one is to the power of 2. So this one cannot be equals to 0. Actually, 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. So negative 1 is not the correct one. Let's try the 1. 3 minus 8 times 1 plus 5 times 1 power 2. 3 plus 5 is 8. 8 minus 8, that's definitely a 0. So definitely it is 1. So the easiest thing to do here is to substitute. Now, how do I do it without substitution? There's no need for you to know that. Because the coefficient here is 5 and everything else is not divisible by 5. It's very hard for us to just come up or think of the two numbers that would get me an answer. Moving along. أي questions هنا صحيح؟ طيب. 11. K is an integer. K plus 5 plus 6 over 3 is greater than 15. What is the lowest possible value of K? This is برضو easy to translate. It says here it's greater than 15. So K plus 5 plus 6 over 3 is greater than, which means bigger than 15. There are like terms already that should be there. So it's K plus 5 and 6 is 11 over 3, bigger than 15. Just like an equation, I'm going to remove the 3 to the other side by multiplying. So I'll say that K plus 11 is bigger than 15 times 3. How do I think about this one without the calculator if you're not a quick one to calculate? Split the 15, 10 and 5. 3 times 10, 30. 3 times 5, 15. 15 and 30 is just a total of 45. Move the 11 to the other side, so I'll have K bigger than 45 minus 11, which is 36. So again, K must be bigger than 36. What is the lowest possible value of K? The least I could say is the 36 itself. But it couldn't be the 33, or it couldn't be the 35 or the 34. Does that make sense?
Mister, I have a question.
Of course.
You moved 11 to the other side. So it's 45 minus 11, right?
Yep.
That's 32.
I'm sorry. I did a stupid mistake. I'm sorry. Thank you, man.
No problem. Thank you.
So you're 100% correct. So K is supposed to be bigger than 34. Now, what's the lowest it could be? It's 35, actually.
K is supposed to be bigger than 34. Like, how do you know it's not 36?
What's the lowest possible value for K? It could be 36, it could be 100. But they want the lowest that could be there. So the lowest that's still bigger than 34. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome.
بس ده ممكن اعملها بنفس الطريقه برضه.
طبعا يا باشا. substitute لو عايز على طول. جرب الانسرز وشوف. بس بجد والله يا يحيى it would be longer مش easy.
يعني الطريقه دي اسهل؟
طبعا. انت شور. ايوه طبعا. انت كل عملته هتبقى 3 الناحيه الثانيه بالتايمز وبعدين 11 الناحيه الثانيه بالماينس. كي اكبر من 34 خلاص 35 على طول. بس انت الثانيه بقى تبقى قاعد بتجرب واتش تشويس وافرض كانت اول واحده ولا اخر واحده قصه. يعني بحس ان ده will make things harder. Keep in mind again والله يا يحيى we created the rules of the equations and the algebra والكلام ده because عشان ما نقعدش نجرب. يعني اتعملت اصلا عشان ما نقعدش نفكر ايه الحاجات اللي ممكن لما اعملها تايمز 2 وبلس 3 تطلع ب 10. فاهم؟
انا الميثود دي ما جربهاش غير لما اكون متاكد انها مش عارف الستبس.
بالظبط. انا ده رايي الشخصي بصراحه بجد. اذروايز هتبقى بتعك شويه يعني. يلا. Amanda paid $8 for a makeup bag, said that was only $15. Oh, I like those. We've sold زي دول كتير قبل كده. She paid that $8 that was هنا هي equals بالنسبة لي. So we're literally translating A was only يعني A was equals to 15 less than 1/2 the original price. So 15 less than حاجة يعني حاجة هي اللي minus 15. ايه الحاجة دي؟ half the original price. الهاف بيبقى دايما out of something. half ايه؟ half the original price اللي انا ما اعرفوش. So I'll put it with X. I don't know what's the value of it. So now A اللي هو البرايس اللي هي دفعته is equals to 15 less than half the original price. What do they want? They want what was the original price. So they want to know X كانت بكام. أعمل كده إزاي؟ Move negative 15 to the other side. So I'll have A plus 15 equals to half X. Then الهاف دي تروح الناحية التانية كأنها times 2 فتبقى X equals 2A plus 30. A is the correct answer. This is an easy question. Please ask if you think you're even a tiny bit confused.
مستر مش هي كده المفروض 15 وايه بلس 15؟
لا، انا لما بودي حاجه الناحيه التانيه بتروح تايمز على الشيء كله. صح؟
يعني كله بتعمله دبل.
طبعا انت كانك ان انت بتقوله ده المفروض تكون ايه 2 تايمز A بلس 15 كده في براكت وبعدين تعمل ديستريبيوشن فتطلع الاكس ب 2A بلس 30. اوكي.
بس كنا we were solving for the X صح؟ مش
اه
for A.
ايوه ليه؟ لان هو he wants the what was the value of the original price. هي already الايكويشن اللي انا عملتها solved for A اللي هي في ناحيه لوحدها. هو عايز the original price وانا حطيته باكس فانا عارف ان انا عايز الاكس في ناحيه لوحدها. فاهم؟ طيب تعالى نشوف 13. 13 بقى قصه الدومين. You remember المره اللي فاتت قلت لكم ما كانش عندي questions عليهم. This is the only question that I've seen so far. If you remember root we said domain المشكله بتاعته بتكون في الروت او في fraction. لما بيكون في root we take whatever is inside the root بس من غير الروت واحنا محتاجينه يكون bigger than or equals to 0. عايزين يكون positive او 0 يا positive يا 0. so هحل برضو عادي. now focus معايا. الموف المره دي النيجاتيف اكس هي اللي هوديها الناحيه الثانيه وخلاص. ليه؟ عشان اخلي الاكس تفضل positive فتبقى 3 bigger than or equals to x. So ده معناه ايه؟ معناه ان الاكس لازم تكون اصغر من 3 او 3. اصغر من 3 ده يعني من اول نيجاتيف انفينيتي لحد ال 3 نفسها. وال 3 لازم تكون included بس الانفينيتي عمرها ما بتبقى included. So when you look at the answers it's choice number B then. طيب في حد ممكن يعمل حاجة تانية. في حد ممكن لما يجي يعمل 3 minus x all bigger than or equals to 0 he would prefer or she would prefer to move ال 3 هي اللي بتروح الناحية التانية. في الكيس دي هيكون عندي negative x bigger than or equals to negative 3. طيب ازاي اشيل النيجاتيف؟ المفروض لما بحب اشيل النيجاتيف دي بعمل divided by negative 1. التريك او الحاجة الوحيدة اللي بتحصل في الايكواليتي اللي مختلفة عن الايكويشن ان انا لو عملت divided by negative 1 لازم اقلب الميدل ساين. لازم اسويتش الميدل ساين فتبقى now x less than or equals to positive 3 فهتديني برضو نفس الدومين اللي هو من negative infinity until 3. Does anyone have any questions here?
طب مستر لما كتبها division كنا نحلها ازاي عشان نسيبه؟
ما هو الديفيجن ما هي راحت
لا
هنا.
بتكلم لو بدل الروت قبلنا اي فراكشن مثلا.
لو كان عندي fraction تحت الروت المفروض تاخد اللي تحت وتخليه equals to 0. So لو انا عندي fraction زي ده 3x plus 2 3x power 2 plus 4 all equals to whatsoever، باخد اللي تحت بس واخليه equals to 0 find the value of x. بقول ان الدومين هيبقى all real numbers except الفاليو اللي انا جبتها دي. ولما كان عندي روت باخد اللي تحت الروت اخليه bigger than or equals to 0 واحله عادي. سو مثلا هنا x bigger than 3 دي بتتكتب بقى في الكيس دي هتبقى من 3 لحد positive infinity، وال 3 هتبقى included بس الانفينيتي مش هتبقى included، يا اما احط لها البراكت ده يا اما احط لها البراكت ده. اوكي؟
اوكي شكرا.
عارف يا حبيبي. طيب moving on to the next one. حلينا كتير ما شاء الله. The lengths of two sides of a triangle are 4 and 7. So I have a triangle. I don't know whether it's right or not. I just know that one is 4 and the other one is 7. Which of the following represents A, the possible length of the remaining side? So the third side المفروض يكون A واحنا مش عارفين طوله كام. Please understand that this is not a right triangle unless they said so. Unless it was clearly stated this is a right triangle. So since this is not a right triangle أنا مش هينفع أعمل البيثاغورس theorem. مش هينفع حد يقول لا أعمل 7 power 2 minus 4 power 2 under the square root. That's not correct. كل اللي أقدر أعمله لما يكون عندي two sides وأنا عايز أعرف إيه ال value of the third, it is impossible to know the value of the third one unless you're given angles. طيب لو if you're not given angles, then you can find a range for the third side. يعني you can get to know where what could be the value of the third side between what and what, a range. How do I find the range? The third side is always less than or equals to the sum, actually less than but not equal, or bigger than the difference of the two other sides. What do I mean by that? يعني the third side that is supposed to be less than 7 plus 4 and bigger than 7 minus 4, which means we're talking here 3 and we're talking here 11. So A must be bigger than 3 and less than 11. I cannot tell what's the exact value of A. I just know its range. It should be حاجة bigger than 3 and less than 11. So when you look at the choices, B must be the correct choice. But it's impossible again to know the exact length. I could know the possible lengths that could be there. Any questions here?
مثلا مش احنا ممكن نعملها 7 minus 4.
Again, that's exactly what I told you. You can't do. Power 2 under the square root. This is if it was a right triangle. If it's not a right triangle, the Pythagorean would not work. Pythagoras theorem only work عليها.
انا قصدي يا مستر احنا ممكن نعمل 4 minus 7 فتطلع
لا ما هو لا على طول في السبتراكشن اكيد هعملها بوزيتيف لانه اتس امبوسيبل ان اللينث يبقى بالنيجاتيف. خلي بالك دي لينث بتاع التراينجل اطوال. اتس امبوسيبل يبقى بالنيجاتيف. لازم هتبقى بالبوزيتيف. دايما هعمل الكبير بلس الصغير والكبير ماينس الصغير. فاهم؟ So negative 3 is impossible لانه again ما فيش حاجه اسمها ان الثيرد سايد يكون بالنيجاتيف، ان طول عامه بتاع اي حاجه يكون بالنيجاتيف. طيب 15. Starting at sunrise, the temperature rose 1.5 degrees Celsius every hour. After 10 hours, the temperature was 10 degrees. Which of the following models the temperature in Celsius after X hours from sunrise? When you look at the answers, I'll show you exactly now, or focus please with me now on how I think about the answer. Now, how do I think about the question? Where do I start? I looked at the choices, as I told you. Once I looked at the choices, I realized that these are all linear functions. And they're written in the form of the slope, or point slope form, if you remember. What is the point slope form? اللي هي y minus y1 equals m bracket x minus x1. أول ما ألاقي المنظر ده أعرف إن linear على طول. وأول ما أفكر في linear يبقى هفكر في slope. طيب إيه السلوب اللي هنا في الكويستشن ده؟ they say 1.5 degrees Celsius every hour. Rose يعني increase 1.5 degrees Celsius every hour. If you برضو remember, I kept telling you there are keywords for the slope and there are keywords for the intercept. What are the keywords for the slope? It's every, each, increase, per whatsoever, or each whatsoever, decrease, each or every whatsoever, rate of change. These are all keywords for the slope. So if I'm trying to figure out what's the slope here and they tell me that the temperature rises or rose by 1.5 every hour, so this is right away the slope. This is M, the slope. Type, what else do I need? Since this is the point slope formula, then I'm looking for a point. So خدت بالي انه بيقول لي after 10 hours the temperature was 40. This is a point. 10 على x, 40 على y. So I have a point and I have a slope. I just need to write the equation down. The equation will be لازم احط الاكس والواي بعكس الساينز. فالمفروض يبقى عندي y minus 40 equals 1.5 and then x minus 10 بعكس الساين. So choice A must be the correct answer. If you noticed, 3 questions in just this section on linear equations. That's a lot, by the way. The linear equations is one of the most important topics. Any questions here? طب في حد عايز يشتم؟ طب شكرا. Okay. Now 16, 17, 18, and 19, and 20, they all were grid-in questions, which means there were no choices there. Now let's quickly see how they solve. You asked here for what's the value of h, and then this sign, and then f, and then 0. What does that mean? It means we need to find h of f of 0. يعني كأني بفايند كده h of f of 0. If you remember, I told you to work those ones from the inside out. يعني الأول I'll get the f of 0. How do I find f of 0? By substituting the x or the z or whatever the variable with 0. So now I have 1 over 3 to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is just equals to 1. So 1 over 3 to the power of 0 is 1. So now f of 0 is just 1, which means I actually want to find now h of 1. How do I find h of 1? I'll go for the function h, remove each z, and substitute 1. So here it goes. H of 1 is supposed to be equals to 1 plus 4 over 1 plus 1. This is mainly 5 over 2, which is 2.5. You can write it this way, it's correct. You can write it this way, it's also correct. Any questions here? Awesome. What positive number is twice as far from 9 as it is far from 3? This is a translation question. We're trying to translate this into maths. If I would like to know how far is my age than your age, I'll have to subtract our ages. So if I'd like to know how far is a number, what positive number is far away from 9, or twice as far from 9, يعني the distance between it and the 9 is twice the distance between it and the 3, how do I translate that? Now what's the difference between a number and 3? This is it. This is the minus, a number and 3. This is the difference between a number that I don't know and 3. Now, the distance between the same number and 9 is equal to twice the difference between the same number and 3. That's how exactly I'm going to translate this. Again, when I say how far is something than the other one, I'll subtract them from each other. So if I say there's a number that's twice as far from 9 as it is far from 3. So I'll take the same number and I'll check how far is it away from 3. This is how far away it is from 3. Okay, so how far is it away from 9? This is how it is far from 9. Now, this distance between it and the 9 is twice the distance between it and the 3. So that's exactly how I got an equation, and that's when I have to now start solving. I'll distribute this. I'll have here 2x minus 6 equals to x minus 9. Move the x's on one side, so I'll have here only 1x equals to the numbers to the other side, so negative 9 plus 6, which is negative 3. Now, this is a negative number, so that doesn't work. What else can we do? There's a very trick here, and I've just noticed. What else can we do? Anyone can think this one with me? Anyone?
Yes, mister, I have one.
Please. لا ايه ده your voice is too far. No, Jed, I can't hear you.
Now, can you hear me?
I think you need to get a bit closer to the mic or something if possible.
Is that better?
Yes, much better. Go ahead.
Okay. So if we want to find the value of x, we need to find 2x to acquire 9 and 1x to acquire 3. However, they didn't tell us if it was in the positive direction or in the negative
Exactly. So the absolute is here the trick. صح?
Yes.
Did you think about it with an absolute or you thought about it as counting or just a thought of it?
No, I sent you my solution on
What's up?
the chat.
On the chat.
Yes.
2x plus x is equals to 6?
Yes, 9 minus 3. The difference between 3 and 9.
So you decided to split the difference وخلاص?
Yes, mister. And the
Perfect.
solution is I thought was rational
makes sense طبعا. محمد انت النقط دي ثانك يو زود قوي. محمد انت النقط دي معناها ايه؟ انا مش فاهم. انت فاهم مش فاهم زهقان ايه الموضوع؟
مستر هو احنا كانت الايكويشن طلعت
دي كانت المفروض الايكويشن صح؟
ماشي وبعدين
الفكره ان احنا مش المفروض نكتبها كده. ليه؟ عشان far away دي doesn't explain.
لا لما حليتها فكرت بيها كده في مخي بس.
ماشي، ما انا بقول لك التريك هنا في ايه؟ دي اللي كنت بقول لك عليها الابسولوت. يعني ايه او ليه بقول ابسولوت؟ هو how far away is a number from 2. هو في كام number far away from 2؟ في او مثلا في كام number far away from 2 ب 3؟ في 2 numbers far away from 2 ب 3. في 2 plus 3 اللي هي ال 5 وفي 2 minus 3 اللي هي النيجاتيف 1. فال 5 والنيجاتيف 1 رقمين الاثنين far away from 2 ب 3 صح؟ طيب so then why does it say here انها x minus 3؟ ما ممكن تكون 3 minus x. هو عايز يقول انه الفرق وخلاص، مش مهم الفرق بقى positive ولا negative صح؟
طب سؤال بس، هو احنا الاكس ماينس 9 دي عشان كنتش مركز، اكس ماينس 9 دي معناها ايه؟
far away from 9. A number far away from 9. If I want to know how far am I from 9, I'll just subtract my whatsoever distance or whatsoever from 9 or minus 9.
ماشي.
How far is my age than your age? I'll subtract both. So how far is a number than 9? The distance or how far is something from 9 is just subtracting both. This is the first thing I started with يا هيثم. Please خلينا نثبت بس حاجة واحدة. How far away is something from the other thing is subtracting. The distance between or the difference between something and the other thing is subtracting. So if I want to know how far is x from 9, I'll just subtract x minus 9. Is this okay for everyone? الفكرة ان انا عايز اعرف how far is something from something else ان انا اعملهم minus بعض. Is this okay for everyone? I'll restart explaining the whole thing, so please answer me. The idea of how far is something from something else is subtracting. Is that understood or no? Okay. So when I want to know a number twice as far from 9 أو far from 9 وخلاص. لا let me خليني أرتب تاني الجملة صح. هو he's saying twice as far from 9 as it is far from 3. عايز number يكون بعيد عن 9 double المسافة اللي بعيد عنها عن ال 3. So الأول عايز أعرف how far is this number than ال 3. مش this is the first thing I'll think of. لو أنا عندي two distances واحدة twice التانية لازم أعرف الأولانية بكام عشان أجيب ال twice دي بكام. So how far is a number from 3? I get it by subtracting. X minus 3, this is the distance اللي يعني this is how I ask how far is a number from 3. But remember بس هي التريك هنا الصغيرة بقى اللي هحطها إنه لازم أحطها في absolute. Because there are two numbers far away from 3 بنفس المسافة دايما. There are two numbers far away from أي رقم بنفس المسافة. Why؟ حد فاكر النمبر لاين بتاع المدرسة ده اللي هو 0 و1 و2 و3 وهنا نيجاتيف 1 ونيجاتيف 2 ونيجاتيف 3. مثلا if I'm checking النمبر 1 في كام رقم بعيد عن النمبر 1 ب 2 far away from 1 ب 2. ممكن يبقى في 2 in this direction يعني رقم 3 ده يعتبر بعيد عن ال 1 ب 2 points اهو والرقم نيجاتيف 1 برضو بعيد عنها ب 2 points. So دايما لما اجي اقول انا مثلا عايز اعرف how far is a number عن 1 there are two numbers I could be talking about. So how do I put this in math? That's how or this is the reason why we created the absolute أصلا. So the distance between how far is a number than 3 I actually subtract them and put them in an absolute. He's saying بقى ان I need a number that's twice as far from 9 than it is as far from 3. So انا عايز twice the distance دي هو ده اللي هيبقى equal او هو twice the distance دي هي دي انا عايز ده how far is it from 9. فاهم حاجه؟ مش عارف افهمها ازاي. طب ويت خليني ارتب حاجه تانية خالص. Actually by the way لا بمعنى twice as far from 9 as it is far from 3 دي عايز رقم بعيد عن ال 9 again twice ال distance اللي ما بينه وما بين 3. So ادي رقم ال distance اللي ما بينه وما بين 3 اهي x minus 3 كده انا بجيب ال distance اللي ما بين الرقم وال 3. I need ال distance عامة لازم تكون positive فهحطها في absolute. Does this make better sense شوية عشان ال distance لازم تكون positive فأنا بشوف ال distance اللي ما بين رقم و 3. عايز الرقم ده نفسه يكون ال distance دي نفسها تكون twice ال distance دي هو الفرق اللي ما بين الرقم برضو و 9. احنا قلنا الفرق برضو لازم يكون في absolute فهحط ده كمان في absolute. Does this equation كده make شوية better sense ولا لا؟ أنا لسه ما حلتهاش بس حد فاهم الترجمة عملتها كده ازاي ولا في حد متلخبط قبل ما اكملها؟ We all good في الحتة دي؟ easy حلو. How do I start بقى to solve؟ أنا عايز أشوف لكم أسهل وأتفه طريقة بجد. لا، اسهل وادفع طريقه would not even be this. بس خلاص I got it. اوكي معلش، اوكي ريستارت تاني المره 70 ريستارت. اوكي النمبر لاين will give you a better understanding شويه فكره الفار، ان هو ده اللي كنت بحاول اوصل. عشان كده كنت حتى بقعد اقول لكم distance لازم تكون بوزيتيف والكلام ده، لان انا بفكر فيها as distance، خطوط مسافه فعلا. So look at the number line. This should make you understand the whole thing better. Keep in mind ان هو من الاول خالص بيقول لي what positive number، فانا على النمبر لاين اصلا ما حطيتش اي نيجاتيف نمبرز، انا بس بتكلم على positive numbers. So من اول 0 لحد 9 ماكسيمم، احنا الديستنس اللي بنتكلم عليها كلها على بعضها هي 9، اخري 9. عايز positive number، يعني عايز رقم من هنا يكون الفرق ما بينه وما بين ال 9 twice المسافه اللي الفرق، او twice الديستنس اللي ما بينه وما بين 3. هو عامه الانسر اصلا 5 باي ذا واي. ليه بقى؟ عشان بس هوريكم دلوقتي الحقيقي الكلام ده عليها ولا لا، وبعد كده هنشوف ازاي نعملها ستيب باي ستيب. الفرق اللي ما بين ال 5 وال 3 قد ايه؟ 2. فرق كده مسافه 2، distance 2. طب والفرق اللي ما بين ال 5 وال 9 قد ايه؟ 4. ال 4 دي twice ال 2. هو ده اللي هو يقصده، انا عايز رقم الفرق ما بينه وما بين ال 9 تبقى ضعف المسافه اللي ما بينه وما بين ال 3. بالنمبر لاين الموضوع شويه منطقي. طيب ازاي افكر فيها بقى، اللي هو الطريقه اللي كان جد بيتكلم عليها اكشلي، بس كنت خايف شويه انك ما تعرفش تيماجين ازاي الموضوع ده اجيبه واحله على طول. هو الديستنس كلها على بعضها قد ايه اللي ما بين ال 9 وال 3؟ المسافه دي كلها على بعض قد ايه؟ 6. فرق ده على بعضه قد ايه؟ 6. انا عايز اتنين جزئين، عايز ديستنس يروح، او يعني عايز جزء عادي وجزء تاني twice of it. عايز الجزء اللي هو واحد، الجزء ده مثلا اهو x، let's say ان ده x. الجزء التاني عايزه يكون twice of it، يعني عايزه يكون 2x. فانا عايز ال 2x وال x على بعض يكونوا هما دول بيلعبوا في ال 6 distance دي. ازاي اجيب الاكس بقى الواحده بكام؟ تبقى ال 3x equals ايه؟ 6 which means x is equals 2. طب ايه الاكس ب 2؟ يعني الفرق اللي ما بين ال 5 او الرقم وال 3 كان 2، سو الفرق اللي ما بينه وما بين ال 9 يبقى 4. فعايز اعرف الرقم ده نفسه اجيبه ازاي؟ هعمل 5 او سوري هعمل ال 3 دي اللي انا كنت بتكلم عليها بلس 2، او هعمل ال 9 ماينس ال 4 اللي هو الضعف المسافه. Does that kind of make sense ولا لا؟ برضو عادي if it's not، قولوا لي انت لا 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 الهبل ده بتاع عادي، بس tell me and give me feedback، عشان شويه صعب ان انا افهم انتوا فاهمين ايه اللي لحد دلوقتي. nothing. يا جماعه يس نو اي حاجه، give me اي حاجه. طب حد بقى يسال اللي مش كلير ده، اسال في حاجه، اسال اي سؤال بجد. because the questions هي معلش هتفهم. اسك بقى دلوقتي.
بس يعني هو دلوقتي هو الديستنس ما بين 3 و 9 6 صح؟ عشان كده عاملها ايكوالز 6.
اللي هو الفرق الكبير اللي ما بين 9 و 3. يس.
هو كان عايز اللي هو دبل، عملناها 2x بلس x.
هو كان عايز الفرق اللي ما بين رقم و9 يكون ضعف الفرق اللي ما بين رقم و3. فانا كده بتكلم ان الفروقات كانها تعتبر 3 differences because واحد ضعف الثاني، فكانهم 3 مسافات. فاهم؟
تمام، وعشان كده بقى عملناها 2x بلس x فبقت 3x
اه
equals 6
اه
x equals 2 عشان كده.
بالظبط.
طب
شور
هو بكالكليتر او كده ممكن يكون اسهل شويه.
بكالكليتر مش هتبقى اسهل برضه بصراحه، يعني تضطر تفكر فيها برضه.
مستر هو انا فهمت دي،
امم
بس هو انا لو عايز اكتب equation يطلع لي الرقم نفسه على طول، هي اللي كانت بالابسولوتس دي صح؟
بس المشكله ان بالابسولوتس دي هتبقى اصعب ليك انك تحلها، لان المفروض تبقى both sides either positive or negative. يعني احنا بنعرف نحل absolutes that has absolute for one side of the equation، مش on both sides.
امم
فاهم؟
ايوه.
بس برضه يعني هفكر لها، بفكر لها وانا بكلمك في حاجه كمان. آه معلش ممكن يا جماعه يعني حاولوا ما تركزوش في الشخبطه اللي هشخبطها دلوقتي دي، انا بس هجرب حاجه. اوكي؟ لا نيفر مايند، مش هتبقى في ايكويشن تطلع لك الاكس نفسها على طول. هيبقى في ايكويشنز دايما بتتكلم على الديستنس. فيعني هو ده بالظبط اللي انا عملته هنا. بص محمد برضه، عشان انت بتقول انا متلخبط في الايكويشن، اوكي ركز معايا ثواني. انا دلوقتي مش بحاول اطلع الرقم نفسه بكام، انا بحاول اتكلم على الفرق. الاكس هنا مش بتريبريزنت النمبرز نفسها، الفاليوز نفسها. الاكس بتريبريزنت المسافات. انا عايز اجن الفرق او بتكلم على ارقام من الاخر ما بين 9 و 3، فعشان كده عملت ال 9 ماينس 3 ان هي دي كل التوتال ديستنس اللي انا بتكلم عليه. الديستنس دي نفسها متقسمه على جزئين، متقسمه على جزء وجزء تاني يعتبر او جزء صغير، وجزء تاني التوايس بتاعه. فخليت واحد باكس والتاني يبقى ب 2 اكس عشان يبقى التوايس بتاعه. فاهم حاجه يا محمد من اللي احنا قلناه ده، اكس و2 اكس دي؟
ايوه يا مستر.
طيب انا الديستنس ال 6، انا عايز الاكس وال2 اكس على بعض يدوني ال 6، يعني عايز ال 3 اكس على بعض تديني ال 6. فانا لما جبت الاكس بكام، الاكس دي تعتبر الفرق الواحد، الفرق مش الرقم، الفرق. فهنا ال 6 هتتقسم ل 2 و4. هو ده اللي انا فهمته من الايكويشن دي. طيب ال 4 ايه وال 2 ايه؟ ال 4 دي الديستنس اللي ما بين الرقم وال 9، وال2 دي الفرق اللي ما بين الرقم وال3. فيا اما هعمل 9 هي اللي ماينس 4، يا اما هعمل ال 3
هذا
بلس
بالصوت يا
4.
مستر.
ايه يا حبيبي؟
تبقى 5.
بالظبط. فهعمل يا اما ال 9 ماينس 4 تبقى 5، يا اما ال 3 بلس 2 فتبقى 5 بقى.
تمام.
I hope that kind of makes sense يعني. الناس ايه طيب يا جماعه؟ بقيت كل الحاجات دي احسن سيكا؟ لا الريبيتيشن خليها احسن؟ لا الريبيتيشن لخبطني اكتر. بس جيب لي حاجه، جيب لي فيدباك. طب خليني اخلص السؤالين الباقيين. 18 احنا كده شكلنا مش هنحل حاجه بقى. The function this has a 0 at x equals 4. What's the value of a? I know يا جاد. لا I know يا حبيبي. what it has a 0. يعني ايه has a 0؟ يعني ال 4 دي 0. يعني المفروض الزيرو ده معناه ان انا لما substitute الاكس بفور الانسر تطلع لي بزيرو. هو دي كلمه زيرو. That's why this is called a zero. فهسبستيوت فعلا الاكس بفور. هقول هنا 4 to the power of 2 minus a multiplied by 4 plus 4 برضو minus 112. This must be equals to 0. بس try to find the value of a. فيبقى عندي دلوقتي 16 minus a multiplied by 4 times 4 which is 8. Sorry, plus 4 which is 8 minus 112 equals to 0. 8 times 16 and 8. بلاش 8 times 16 by the way. First move the negative 112 to the other side. So I'll have 16 minus a equals times 8 equals positive 112. Now move the 8 to the other side by division. So 6 minus a is equals to 112 divided by 8. في حد يعرف يحسب دي بكام من غير كالكوليتر؟ هي خلوا بالكم ان الهارد بارت اللي في الكويستشن ده is ان to be solved without a calculator. هو ده التريك اللي في الموضوع. بس ككويستشن نفسه it's extremely easy. So can someone tell me حد بيعرف او تقول لي بس اذا كان you can ولا لا؟ 112 divided by 8. Can you think about it؟
14.
صح. بس ازاي بفكر فيها يمين؟ مش يعني I know انها بتتعمل يعني ممكن يكون في حد حافظها. ازاي افكر فيها عشان تبي applied على اي other number؟ لما اكون بس لا ما هو there could be another easier way. زي ما عملنا زي ما كنت بكلمك عن multiplication. مش المالتيبليكيشن مثلا لما كنت تقول لي عايز اعمل 35 مثلا تايمز 6. قلت لك امسك 30 لوحدها و5 لوحدها واعمل ده تايمز 6 واعمل ده تايمز 6 وبعدين قدم. نفس الفكره دلوقتي فكر فيها هنا بس العكس شويه. What do I mean by that؟ I mean انه 112 دي divided by 8. قول لو هي 80 مش 112. 80 divided by 8 بكام؟ ب 10. سو كده كده الانسر لازم تكون اكبر من 10. طب لو هي كانت 80 فعلا الباقي قد ايه عشان تبقى 112؟ الفرق ما بين 80 و 112 قد ايه؟ حد عارف؟ 32. سو ال 32 دي بقى اللي divided by 8 بكام؟ دي المفروض نكون حافظينها. هي ب 4. 4 مع ال 10 يعني بنتكلم على complete of 14. سو 16 minus 8 المفروض تطلع لي بكام؟ ب 14. Does that شوية make sense؟ You don't have to memorize this. I'm trying to explain. ومش لازم تبقى فاهمها قوي. I'm trying بس to explain a way of thinking. لما تبقى stuck في calculations of divisions أو multiplication ممكن أقسم ال numbers I try to simplify it شوية. فبدل تاني بدل ما يبقى 112 divided by 8 هقسمها إنها 80 لأن ال 80 سهلة divide by 8 plus 32. ما هو 80 plus 32 هي 112 divide by 8. 80 divide by 8 طلعت 10. 32 divided by 8 طلعت 4 وعملت الاثنين دول بلس بعض. المهم next what happens؟ نطلع ال A بكام؟ ال A تطلع ب 2 easily. خلاص that's it done. في حد مش فاهم أي حاجة في نمبر 18؟
طب مستر معلش بس هي لو
طبعا.
كالكليتر نعملها ازاي؟
كده سهلة قوي بقى. خلاص أنت بتفولو ستيبس. يعني أنت من هنا خلاص أنت بتكمل أو أكشن من دي. هتعمل بقى كل ستيبس بالكالكليتر عادي. 112 divided by 8 هيطلع لك 14. تودي ال 16 الناحية التانية بالماينس تبقى نيجاتيف 2 تبقى ال A بوزيتيف 2. يعني ما تحاولش تعملها من الاول خالص بايكوال على الكالكوليتر وخلصنا. لا عادي برضو اعمل شويه ستيبس بس كمل الكالكوليشنز فعلا بالكالكوليتر مش اللي هو تحسب لك هو البتاع كله من اوله لاخره. فاهم؟ Number 19. What's the value of x? This is x. عندي two sides equal to each other. If you remember I told you if I have two sides at the بعض this means that I have two angles at the بعض. This angle و this angle الاثنين اللي انا معلمهم بالاحمر دول. وهو كمان عامل لي السيمبلز دي اللي هو الخط الاسود ده والخط الاسود ده معناها ان دول الاثنين قد بعض. معناها ان دي كمان 20. فلو دي 20 تبقى دي كمان كام؟ 20. Now look at the big triangle. كله على بعضه. عندي side angle هنا على بعض كلها تعتبر ب 40. وعندي انجل هنا على بعض اهي ب 20، وانا عايز اعرف التالتة بكام، اعمل 180 minus 40 and minus 20. The answer here is 120. This is the value of x. في اي حاجة هنا مش مفهومة؟ طيب sorry to keep you النهارده، وسوري ان انا ما خليتكوش النهارده، ما كانش فيه الشانس ان انتوا تحلوا، بس بصراحه كان بالنسبه لي important قوي فعلا ان احنا نجو through حاجه كامله على بعضها كده، و I think it was beneficial. كان فيها ideas كتير قوي وحاجات كتير قوي، و we've covered almost كلها. الحاجات اللي ما كناش حليناها او ما كناش عليها separately مخصوص، دي ما كانتش رول مثلا او حاجه لوحدها، دي كانت question that requires thinking, and that's why it was good to see questions like this within the test. اللي باقي المفروض في الاساينمنت اللي على جوجل كلاس روم كله معلش لازم يبقى homework، ده امتحان برضو تاني، فدول عباره عن 38 questions، دول كلهم بكالكوليتر. please do the homework. this is extremely important. خلاص احنا عايزين يبقى الطبيعي ان out of مثلا 20 questions you guys already have 4 قبل ما نيجي الكلاس، ولما نيجي نشرح الموضوع هيبقى much smoother و faster. We need كمان to practice moving from one topic to the other عادي at any time depending on the questions اللي موجودة. مش هنفضل شغالين على نفس الحاجة على طول، ساعات هيطلع لي question linear اللي بعده probability اللي بعده and so on. ال 38 questions أو السكشن اللي فيه 38 questions ده اللي بيبقى دايما أصعب، ده اللي بيكون فيه شوية statistics، بيكون فيه tables أكتر، بيكون فيه data مكتوبة بطريقة مختلفة أكتر. so exert so much effort please in this one. Please also do the exit ticket, and that's it.